Wuthering Waves. Patch 2.2 Story Quest was one of the best quests in gacha history, but for some people, it was too much to process. So in case you missed something, don't worry. I am your savior. Here's the full recap of the story quest, Tangled Truth in the Inverted Tower. To get the entire picture, we need to go back in the past, way back when Rover still had his memories. As we know, Rover is the arbiter of all sentinels in Solaris. In the past, Imperator, the sentinel of Ranacida, desired to uncover the true nature of the Thernodian, Leviathan. To do so, he asked Rover for permission to act without restrictions. After receiving permission, Imperator decided to merge with the Thernodian to understand its true nature. This resulted in the Thernodian taking control of the sentinel's body and mind, twisting him into a grotesque form that was half horse and half fish. When merged with the sentinel, the Thernodian learned that sentinels can create their own resonators. Seeing this, it decided to make its own resonator. After centuries of failure, the Thernodian finally succeeded in creating an entity named Fleur-de-Lis. But because the Sentinel and the Thernodian shared the same body, Fleur-de-Lis also became the Sentinel's resonator. This is why the Thernodian couldn't fully control Fleur-de-Lis's mind, leaving her with free will. For now, we can assume that Fleur-de-Lis was born after the first dark tide in Ranacida. And in case you don't know, the dark tide is a mass of clouds that gathers and eventually breaks, causing a TD outbreak. There have been two significant dark tides in Ranacida's history. The first was stopped by Napoli, and the second was stopped by Fleur-de-Lis herself. Let me explain. After Fleur-de-Lis's birth, the people of Ranacida and even Fleur-de-Lis herself were not aware that the Sentinel is corrupted by a Thernodian, and Fleur-de-Lis is actually the Thernodian's resonator. Fleur-de-Lis was crowned and given the title of the Blessed Maiden in the Avenolium, the Inverted Tower, which was still on land back then. And on that same day, the Thernodian unleashed the second dark tide, devouring everyone in the tower. Fleur-de-Lis was the only survivor who fought the dark tide. Also in the middle of the fight, the Thernodian revealed the truth to Fleur-de-Lis, that she is not the Sentinel's resonator and is the creation of him, the Thernodian. To prevent the dark tide from spreading to rest of Ranacida, she lifted the Avenolium to the sky with her powers. She also split herself into two parts, the part of her that wanted to live, which we know as Cartathea, and Fleur-de-Lis, the part that wanted to end everything along with the Thernodian. Cartathea's mission was to seek a resonator who could reunite her with Fleur-de-Lis and end their suffering by killing the Thernodian and releasing them from this world. The Sentinel left his sword, Turvin, to the Phasalia family. Turvin holds the Sentinel's power, and to become the Blessed Maiden, one must pass the sword's trial. Later, it's revealed that after the second dark tide and the Avenolium's disappearance, Cantarella Phasalia, the 36th head of the Phasalia family, became the safeguard for Turvin and the true Blessed Maiden. Later, it's also revealed that Cantarella underwent a second awakening. During this, she saw Fleur-de-Lis fighting the Thernodian through the Sentinel's distorted eyes. She then returned all the energy from her awakening to the Sentinel, allowing them to temporarily regain control of their body. This let Fleur-de-Lis land a final blow on the Thernodian with the help of the Sentinel. Fleur-de-Lis succeeded, resulting in the Thernodian's destruction. But here's where it gets interesting. We later learn that as long as civilizations exist, the Thernodian cannot be destroyed and can only be sealed or caged. After Fleur-de-Lis destroyed it, the Thernodian immediately began corrupting her mind and body. For years, she fought it internally, waiting for a resonator strong enough to defeat her and end everything. And here's where the 2.2 main quest starts. After the carnival, the Sentinel guides us to Cartathea. After having a little chat with her, she disappears. Later, with Chiacona's help, we meet her again as a frequency. She tells us that even she doesn't know who she truly is. Her memories are gone. She explains that her true form is in an inverted tower suspended in the sky. It's gate-locked with 3 seals, and a part of the sonorosphere is still on land, but it's surrounded by a barrier she can't leave and no one can enter. She also mentions sensing someone like a jellyfish outside of the barrier, which later turns out to be Cantarella. After meeting Cartathea, Cantarella invites us to her place and takes us to Turvin. She explains that Turvin holds the Sentinel's power, and then requests Rover to ask Jue, the Sentinel of Jinzhou, to save Imperator. We respectfully refuse her request and try pulling out Turvin ourselves, which we successfully did. Cantarella gets shocked and asks who we really are. Later, she takes us to where the part of the sonorosphere which was still on land. we break the Sonorosphere's barrier with Turvin, and inside, we meet Cardathia again. Cardathia asks if she can touch Turvin. After taking a look at the sword, she reveals that there were two more swords, Hognus, the Sword of Discord, and Haltir, the Sword of Virtue, which must be placed on the respective pedestals to unseal the main tower. We place Turvin on a pedestal and take the lift to the skybound tower. Exploring the tower with Cardathia and Cantarella, we fight TDs and place the other swords on the respective pedestals. Each sword triggers flashbacks of the Second Dark Tide, showing Flordelis fighting the corrupted sentinel. Later, Cantarella leaves us on our own and leaves the tower. After placing the final sword, a crown appears on Carthia's head that the Threnodian uses to control its resonator. She then tells us to proceed alone. She also explains that the sealed tower holds her other half, Flordelis, who's still fighting the Threnodian internally. Cardathia requests Rover to merge her with Flordelis and end their suffering by releasing them from this world for good. But our Giga Chad Rover refuses and insists on handling it his way. As we head to the final battle, in our absence, Cantarella appears out of nowhere and gives Turvin to Cardathia. She says that the Sentinel's energy flows through Cardathia, and she's more than worthy of wielding the blade, and she alone should wield it. Cantarella also reveals that during her second awakening, she saw Flordelis still fighting the Threnodian and made a sacrifice to help her. In the tower, we find Flordelis all tied up. She breaks free and says the legendary line,
"Come to me, mighty God killer."
As the fight starts, she manages to trap Rover. And right then, Cardathia appears wielding the Turvin in her hands, and in an emotional moment, Cardathia lends all of her powers to Rover by getting into his tacit mark. After this, Rover goes berserk, and in an epic fight scene defeats Flordelis, freeing her and Cardathia from their endless suffering. After we defeat her, she falls from the tower, and in a wholesome moment Rover saves her, but then Abby notes that the frequencies in her body are already gone. Imperator then appears in an incomplete form, explaining us everything about the past, which I already told you in the beginning of the video. He also tells us that his original plan was to make Cantarella his resonator, which would have broke the law of one divinity having a single resonator, resulting in the destruction of the Threnodian. But Cantarella's sacrifice changed the fate. Rover asks Imperator that if he can save Flordelis. Imperator talks to Flordelis and saves her life, making Cardathia and Flordelis one again. After that, in an emotional moment, he bids farewell and asks Rover to give his final message to the Physalia family, that they are free. And now in the end, Flordelis and Cardathia became one, no longer bound to any divinity. And that's everything you need to know about Wuthering Waves 2.2 story. I made sure to include every important point for you to understand the story properly. And also, this was my first ever video, so if this helped, don't forget to subscribe for more amazing content.